Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. So if you're new to the game, you're probably wondering how you can increase your DPS, because right now the game is currently in a damage focused meta. And so that's one of the best ways that you can actually get the best bang for your buck. I have confidence that over time, we're going to start seeing skills come to the limelight once the developers are able to maybe make a decision on what direction they want to go with skills, because it's not like they don't really know what to do. They've made a first division game that had solid skills and solid tech and solid, electronic type builds. But it seems like in the Division 2, there's actually no clear vision on where that needs to go. So I think they're just maybe talking about it or something. But let's dive into the matter at hand today, which is DPS increase. And I'm going to discuss 3 concepts that actually allow for you to be able to do so and do it very well, because these 3 concepts all factor into time to kill. And that's why I want to, speak about them. There are other factors as well that you can consider, but these are mine, and they are the reload speed of your weapon, the rate of fire, and your damage output. So depending on how your damage output is, you could have damage to elites, weapon damage, you could have critical hit chance and critical hit damage. Like this build, I have about 60% crit chance and about 55% critical hit damage. So my damage output may not look, I would say impressive right now, but when I start to fire NPCs, you'll start to see some numbers show up. And so if you want to learn how to increase your base damage, I have a video already done for that. Click the description below and you should see the link to that video. Go ahead and watch it. It will talk to you about different ways that you can increase your damage. So base damage is the first thing. If you look at different weapons, even though they may be in the same family, even though they may be the exact same kinds of weapons, they may have different talents. They may even roll based on the RNG with different numbers, like the case of these 2 M60s, one of them is 29k, one's 23k, or in the case of the light machine gun infantry MG5, that rolls like 10,000 or even maybe 14,000 less damage than an M60. But in the case of both weapons, you see that the M60 has a base RPM of 525, while the infantry MG5 has a base RPM of 880 rounds per minute. When you factor in how many rounds you can put out based on this damage versus how many rounds you can put out here based on this damage, there's usually about a 1 second difference. And that's where you see people are looking at different weapons and saying, yeah, I want to run this weapon versus that weapon, because the higher base damage is made up for or balanced by the low RPM, while the low damage is made up or balanced by the high RPM. That's how the developers have programmed the game, so that one weapon does not scale out of proportion and becomes the best possible weapon out there. Now, this will bring me to the second aspect that I want you to consider when it comes to what weapons you need to be using to increase your DPS. And we spoke about base damage and we spoke about rate of fire, because rate of fire does a whole bunch of stuff. Now, in the case of this M60, it's wise that I find an M60 that will have something that increases my rate of fire, because the faster I can land those shots, the faster I can deal the damage that I desire to do. And so the one talent that's actually very much sought out for slow firing weapons is Allegro. Allegro gives you 10% rate of fire. So if you take Allegro and add that, it gives me an extra 25 RPM. Now that may not seem, like a big deal, but if you consider another weapon, and I don't know if I have one of those weapons here, it's the M249. The M249's base RPM is literally 10% more than the M60. And okay, so here we go. This is the MK46. It seems like it's probably about 10%. So it's 605 for its base RPM, whereas this M60 that has it has 525 is now 550. So if you look very closely, there's a small discrepancy in the increase of that rate of fire, but for you to get this weapon to actually fire like a faster LMG but doing way more damage, you've just increased your damage output just by rolling one single talent. And so that's what makes the difference between your DPS going from one specific number all the way to another number. Now, naturally, many of the RNG, I would say parameters will roll you low damage items with something like, Allegro. But if you were to have a high damage one, then what you're looking for is taking that Allegro and rolling on there. In the case of these weapons, I rolled on Hinge to increase my base damage. But if I find one with a high base damage, I'm definitely going to be rolling Allegro on there to increase my DPS. And then the next one is my reload speed. Reload speed is in my opinion, hands down, the biggest, I would say, decisive factor on how well your DPS does. The faster you can reload your weapon, the better you are at dealing damage, or the more DPS you're going to have. And I know everybody comes to this DPS place and everybody fires at a static, object. But to be very honest, in the battlefield, the reason that you've not seen me fire one single bullet at these things in a video about DPS is because when you're in the battlefield, NPCs are running all over the place. You're in different kinds of situations. NPCs are probably trying to take you out. And so you're running from cover to cover. It could be chaotic if the NPCs press on you. And so your ability to continue to deal damage will set you apart from somebody else that's running maybe a small, I would say, vector, which gives them only like 30 rounds, and you have 100 here. And then your reload speed, which is something that you also have to take into account, is probably going to maybe put you guys on an even playing field, except you find a genius way, to lower your reload speed. So if you look at this M60, it has a reload time of 4 seconds, and that's based on the sharpshooter specialization. That gives me 25% increased reload speed. So instead of me to have about 5.5 seconds, which is the norm for the M60, I have 4.4 seconds. So it reduces my reload time, from 5.5 to about 4.4. So that's actually pretty decent, but that's not really enough. 4 seconds is not necessarily enough compared to what it is that I want. And so because of my huge magazine size at 100 mags, I'm running the Sweet Dreams in order to just make my reload speed amazing. So this evasive talent says, while equipped, dodging reloads 25% of your current weapon's your current weapon's magazine. Guys and girls, if you are watching this and you're not running this combination for your big LMG, then you must have something else in mind, because look, I'm now at 73 bullets, but once I do a dive maneuver, I am back to 98 bullets, and I do a dive maneuver, I'm back to full mag, and that is way, 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 way faster to reload than if I had to even go for a 4-second reload time. See how long it takes me to go to that 4 second. Even with my increased reload speed from the sharpshooter, I still have to be subject to that 4.4 seconds. And so if somebody else is standing there with their LMG trying to reload, and all I have to do is just do an evasive action while they're reloading, I'm already back while they're still there reloading, and I'm taking out NPCs, and I'm laying down fire. Even if I'm not taking out NPCs, I might be hitting targets, but I don't have to sit there and reload. And so these three parameters are like a triangle. They all move to form what I would call time to kill. Because if you look here, I think there's a time to kill. There's a TTK measurement thing here that calculates how fast you're taking down different kinds of NPCs. And I think that is in my opinion, a better way to judge your DPS. How fast can you take down the enemy if you hit them? That's another thing. Because we could come all the way over here and we could light up some targets and say, oh yeah, we got 5 million DPS. Nothing wrong with that. I use it to check my DPS as well, but in the battlefield, you are better off coming here to test out your accuracy. Now, there are other things that go into DPS as well, like accuracy, stability, and a whole lot of other things that you have to consider, and conditions too. But I'm not factoring those things in because they are very subjective. Your accuracy versus somebody else's accuracy will be very different. So the main things that matter are the damage, which is highly influenced by the weapons that you're using, your rate of fire, which can be influenced by the weapon type or from the Allegro talent, and your reload speed, which can be influenced also from special exotic talents or from your sharpshooter specialization. So these are some ways that you can increase your entire and total damage output. And I just wanted to share them with you guys. And if you're new, I hope this has been valuable to you. And if you're a veteran, leave some of the tips that in the comment section below. I want to also see if there are ways that I can also increase my DPS, because I'll be reading the comments. And I just want to say thank you guys once again for listening and watching the video. I appreciate your time and your audience. Leave comments. Let's keep the conversation going. Right now we have a damage meta, but it's not going to be the case for very long. Very honestly, I think the developers are in a place where they actually want to get the work done. But sometimes it's okay to be patient, and I can understand that the game's been out for a long time. But having been a division player from, few years ago, it's just the nature of the beast. They want to get things right, and So I think they're going to get it right if we give them the amount of time that they need. Anyways, I'm going to get out of y'all's hair. Thank you once again for listening and watching, and I guess I'll see you in the next one. Peace.